Today we're going to be painting some simple spring trees. Now this is probably the most simple of all of the painting tutorials, so if you have little ones, this is a great one to involve them in. I am mixing our darkest brown, which is burnt umber, with a little bit of ultramarine blue, which is that dark blue, and that's going to make it an even deeper brown color. I'm using my number 5 paintbrush and just barely touching the paper to make these lines that will become the branches. So just barely touch the end of your brush to the paper and you'll get those thin branches. They go thinner as you go out. So the trunk will be obviously the thickest part, and then you go lighter and thinner as you go out. So you're making 2 trees. One is going to be a little bit taller and one will be a little shorter. You can always sketch in this design before you paint it, but I find it's just as easy to go ahead and paint it with your brush. These branches do not have to be perfect, and it's fun to just see them take on a life of their own. Now I'm switching to my smaller brush. This is a number 2 brush to get in there and add the tiny little branches on the ends. So just a few more branches on the ends. I would use a smaller round brush. Okay, now you're ready to add your second tree. And again, you want it a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter, but the same idea. So you're going to add the trunk and some of the branches. Then you'll want to switch brushes to a smaller brush and add those tiny little branches at the end. I'm adding a little bit more of that dark brown to the trunk in just a few spots so that it's not a totally solid color. That will show that there's a little bit of variation there. It'll make it a little more realistic. Okay, now that you have your chunks, you're going to want to let them dry completely before this next step. And you're going to go in and grab some of that bright green, the sap green color, and make sure you really load up your brush. I'm using the number 5 brush again, that bigger brush, with a lot of paint and a lot of water on my brush, and I am just dabbing the ends of the branches. And again, you want them completely dry before you do this. And you want to leave a little bit of space here and there to show that there's light coming through, and you want to add more color in some spots than others, but you're going to mainly go on the ends of those branches. So just dab and dab until you have enough color. You may want to go back in and add a little bit more color. So add some more color onto your brush and drop it in before it dries. That'll show a little bit of depth. And that's what I'm doing here, just dropping in a little more color so there's more depth. You really can't mess up this part. It's just fun to play with the paint. Now you're going to rinse your brush and we're going to work on that pink tree. And I am using the permanent rose color. You could use really any spring color. If you want to do yellow or orange, that would be fun too. But I love this pink color. And you're going to do the same steps. So just dropping in a little bit of paint, dabbing it on the ends of your branches, and making sure you have plenty of paint and water on your brush, and letting some of that light seep through. So not filling up the whole shape, but letting a little bit of white space in there. Now it's okay if the green and the pink blend a little bit. They might bleed together. You don't have to let the green dry before you add the pink. It'll be really beautiful when it blends together. And like we did before, I'm adding more color in certain spots. So really saturating my brush and adding more color. Now the fun thing about watercolor, one fun thing, is that it dries lighter than when you put it on. So right here it looks pretty dark. I'm going to take out some of that color, but some will remain, but it will dry lighter. It'll look like the picture that you see in your guide, even though it looks darker when you put it on. So make sure you put plenty of paint because it will dry lighter. So I'm just dabbing it in until it's full, and that's it. You're done.